Brandon the Cowboy talking a little bit more about the presidential election and some of the down ballot candidates, the congressional folks. Interesting, Patrick, that in so many of these campaigns, it's your record and you play offense. Now, Trump is starting to play offense because he really didn't have a record politically. Hillary Clinton is trying to do everything she can to stay out of the media, not to say anything, and she's using some line about she's out fundraising in the Hamptons when she's got more money than she needs for the next 2 months.
Yeah, this election might prove that spending a lot of money isn't what it used to be. She has a staff of 800. That's a small software company. She's raising all kinds of money, but you know it's the old story. What's the return on investment? So you got all these people around. How many people? You got a policy shop of 100 people. So what? Cranking out what? Doesn't matter. So she's in the Hamptons, and she's in Silicon Valley, and she's going around to all the different, enclaves of the swells, and he's out working hard. And people like to see their candidate. I don't think she can play this game. She just can't.
There is a lot not to like about Hillary Clinton. I can take you back to New York when she carpet-bagged her way to a Senate spot. You had her as Secretary of State traveling 200, 250 days a year to a lot of countries that people suspect may be tied to the Clinton Foundation. And yet there are some things about her that seem kind of naive, like using a BlackBerry for all these emails. I mean, this is like a princess phone technology-wise.
Yeah, I mean, she was comfortable with it, I guess. But here you have this...
But it's the security of it.
Yeah, well, for her, she's just a person, hand me the device and tell me how to use it. I don't want to know what's behind it. I really don't care. And look, she lost devices. They smashed them with a hammer. Who smashes, even if you get a new phone, you don't smash it with a hammer. You turn it over to some organization that repurposes the phones or something.
It's called wiping it.
I just have this sense, Mrs. Clinton, we're changing phones. Oh, here. Cram! She busts one phone. Here's your new one.
I thought you'd go into the Safeway and sell it in one of those machines for $3.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. She's running, why didn't she get those little cars, or throwaway phones like the terrorists use? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, she's got serious issues on this stuff, so we'll see what happens.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the issues. Donald Trump has gone 6 ways and sideways on immigrants in Mexico. The Mexican president said he flat out lied about who's going to pay for the wall. But he wants to be tough on ISIS, wants to get them done within 2 years. He's going out and making policy statements, whether you agree with them or not, where, I guess I could put her perspective on just about everything from a left-leaning liberal, but I don't know what her own preferences are or her own policies are with respect to ISIS or Mexico.
He's doing what Ronald Reagan did, and for all the viewers out there, no, this isn't a comparison. But
Ronald, there you go again.
Yeah, old Ronnie. But remember, Reagan they asked him one time, when you first meet that Soviet leader, what do you want to tell him? He says, I want to tell him niet. No. He said, because for years, we've been playing this game with him in the old arms race. You get a little here, we get a little here, back and forth, and nothing ever changes. That's when they came up with Star Wars and everything else. And remember when Reagan went to Reykjavik, the meeting lasted 10 minutes about it. Reagan goes in and says, we're building Star Wars, have a nice day.
Right.
And Gorbachev says, well, we don't want that. Well,
of course
meeting's over, right? And he got pilloried for it. But he changed the way America talked to the Russians. The Russians have never been talked to. They've been talked to by diplomatic words. Trump talks...
Kind of like punching the boy in the nose.
Yeah. Hillary still talks like a bureaucrat. She talks like not even a politician. She talks like a bureaucratic, think tank type person. He talks like a regular person. He's speaking in English to people. She's speaking in, well, you little people really don't need to understand this stuff, so just let me handle it. And that's the difference.
It's funny how when they try and reach out to their base, they get in trouble. Hillary with the coal miners. I'm going to put a lot of coal miners out of business. Well, a lot of Democrats are coal miners and they vote in West Virginia. Republicans too. And then Donald Trump, looking to his anti-immigrant base. Well, we're going to build this wall. Well, they build fences now. They don't build walls, but that's a moot point.
I think it's interesting, though, that the British now want to build a wall against Calais. And the French want to build a wall around their port city.
And the Saudis are building a big wall.
Look, countries are saying, wait a second, for years we listened to you, multiculturalists, and what did you get us? You get us screwed up countries. The American with the political correctness and everything else, and you got London, which is, you don't even recognize London anymore. I mean, except for the the guards at Buckingham Palace, you got more, Muslims and everything else and foreigners. So, people are becoming nationalists. That's why Trump's tapping into that.
But when you look back on our history, the Statue of Liberty, Emma Lazarus, give us you're tired, you're poor. And then we look at the Berlin Wall. That was the contrast. And now we're looking more like a Berlin Wall as opposed to give us you're tired, you're poor, yearning to be free.
Yeah.
Your drug smugglers, your
coyotes. And the Berlin Wall was also to keep the East Germans in rather than keeping the West Germans wanting to say, hey, let's run over to East Germany.
Yeah. Hey, they don't have any goods. It's fun.
Yeah, they have no food, and they got crummy cars. Right. Hey, man, let's go. Right. But, it's just this way that the world has evolved in the sense of how we view ourselves as peoples. And people are starting to get back to, I'm tired of all this other stuff. I'm tired of my country being overrun, and I want to see the world back to what it was. And a lot of the people are saying the same thing in the United States. What happened to my good old America?
Well, and before you got knocked off that horse on your way to Damascus, you worked for the Clintons back in the day.
We all make mistakes.
That's right. But my point here is back then it's the economy stupid.
Sure.
Today it's the economy stupid, only in a different way. People are reacting to immigration because of the economy. These people are going to take our jobs. These people are allegedly going to take benefits, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and the old immigration pattern that you mentioned, mostly is because of the oppression in those other countries. The people coming across our border in the South was because there's no jobs, not just in Mexico. Mexican immigration has actually gone down. Mm-hmm. It's Central America, Honduras, El Salvador,
sure.
Guatemala. That's what's filling the void because actually it was on Fox Business the other day. There's Mexican factories that can't find workers. Now, they don't pay the same wages as an American factory, but nonetheless, those are jobs. They're good jobs. So Mexicans are tending to stay home, and we're getting even poorer people coming up from Central America.
And there probably is an ignorance on the part of a lot of folks who probably could not tell a Mexican national from somebody from Guatemala or Ecuador.
Exactly.
They all bunch them together.
Exactly. And if you think, Trump when he was in Mexico, it was great. He said, well, I want to help you guys too, because you got an immigration problem. And the Mexican president probably wanted to say, you're right, we got a worse problem. Right. Because we're already have enough of our own poor people. We don't want to import any more. So that's why you see those trains coming up from the Mexican border in the south all the way up.
Yeah, and I think when Donald Trump says Mexico's going to pay for the wall, he's not talking about the president writing a check. It's tariffs, like the Chinese water torture. Tariffs will get higher and higher and higher.
It's cartel money. It's whatever it is. Yep. They can say they're not going to pay for it, but again, everybody looks at these things in political terms. As absolutists. Oh, they're never going to pay for it. He walked in the deal. Mm-hmm. He said, "This house. What's this house worth? $500,000. I'll give you $350. $350. Go." He's offering me $350.
Anybody else offering you anything? Yeah.
I'll be back in a couple days. Only it's going to be $300.
Right.
And the guy comes. All of a sudden, he comes back and they say, "I'll take the $300." He goes, "Well, if you take the $300, I'll take $250." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's opening gambits. This is his life. This is what he does. And he does it with bluster and everything else. And then he comes in the room and they go, God, you were pretty harsh out there. He goes, hey, come on. Okay. Want to make a deal or don't you?
So here we are, early September. We're taping this on the 8th of September. So we got roughly 2 months. I think most people, Patrick, who are paying attention have pretty much made up their mind on Hillary or Trump. But what could be the wild card is WikiLeaks on Hillary, if the email situation is worse. Trump skeletons in his closet that the New York Times, rather, and the Washington Post are digging for. But how many people pay attention to that? I mean, not everybody reads those newspapers. Not everybody watches MSNBC.
We're too close. Mm-hmm. And we got to start, not we, you and I, as much as the world. You got to start, these political consultants don't think of how the guy out there who just got up this morning to go to work. As I was walking the dog this morning, I see this guy gets up every morning, he works for DirecTV. And he's got a small house and everything else. This is his life. He's not getting up in the morning, looking through this. He might read the sports scores or something, but he's off to work.
And I wonder why it is that people you were a political consultant for a while. These people pay so much attention to the push polls and the daily polls.
Yeah.
A lot can happen between now and, you want to know where you stand, but it really doesn't matter. 3 points, 4 points?
Winston Churchill said one time, we have to stop living our lives, and I'm roughly translating, constantly looking at the Gallup poll. He says we shouldn't be taking our temperature every 5 minutes. That's like the person who's, they're a day trader in stocks, or they might just own stock. They call their broker every 5 minutes. Hey, what happened? I just saw the market went down 2 points. And the broker says, are you cashing out tomorrow or in 10, 15 years? And the guy says, 20 years. Then sit down.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing. But the regular people out there, they say, I don't want to hear that stuff. I want to feel safe. Trump is now leading by 18% with married women.
That's interesting.
That's a safety
way
number.
behind.
That's a security and safety difference.
But you've been pointing that out because you made a point a couple of months ago that the guy who's the disaffected guy who may go for Trump because he lost his job or he thinks he's going to lose his job, and all the pollsters say, well, the women don't like Trump. Well, the women who are married to that guy, they like Trump.
Yeah. They're saying, it's my husband the one that's out of work. And that means that our lifestyle has changed. And maybe she had to go back to work, or maybe she's working already. But those are the things that are important to people. And that's why I think when people look at president, they want to feel like somebody's going to be tough, be straight with them, and protect them. That's what they're looking for. And with Hillary, they don't think she's straight with them, and they doubt whether she can protect him because she's too tied into this system.
Well, as they say, if you liked Obama, you'll love Hillary, and vice versa.
Absolutely. And
there are a lot, there's almost 50% approve of the president. There are people who are just fine with him.
Well, you notice whenever he talks too much, his numbers go down. Mm-hmm. Whenever he's not talking, his numbers stay about 50%.
When he's out of the country,
when he's out of the country, they're high.
Yeah.
But as soon as he starts opening his mouth, and he hasn't said anything about Obamacare, and that's another thing coming up. Obamacare premiums are going up next month, and people are starting to get their little notices in the mail, and they say, well, that's only for a certain segment. Yeah, but the certain segment that are getting those high premiums are real voters. They're not they're the people that vote every election.
Kind of surprising to me that Trump hasn't leaned on the strategy of, well, Obamacare didn't work. Hope and change didn't really happen. Guantanamo's still open. We're still at war in Afghanistan. Mrs. Clinton, you were part of that administration. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that's part of your closing argument. Mm-hmm. I think both of them are going to be working on that. What's the closing argument? And I think the closing argument for Trump should be, he should quote Reagan. He should say, in 1980, Ronald Reagan said, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And in that actual response in the debate with Carter, he gave a longer, he says, is the country better off internationally? Is this better off? But that one salient line, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? What Trump ought to say is, that's what he said in 1980. It's 2016. What I'm telling you is, are you going to be better off 4 years from now with her and the same policies? So you project out in the future, oh gosh, things are bad now. What's she going to do?
Right. You mentioned in our last segment that the Republican Party's starting to come around to back Donald Trump. Maybe not really righteously, but at least they're on board. What about the down ballot candidates? What about some of these senatorial candidates who are up for re-election or maybe running for election and just don't want to be associated with Trump? Are they coming around?
Yeah, and I think they're running their own campaigns. And quite frankly, in this kind of year, they should have the latitude to run their own campaigns. Bob Portman, the Democrats have now pulled their ads in Ohio for Ted Strickland. So that means, Ted, it's been nice knowing you, you're on your own. Mm-hmm. Portman's when you got Jack Nicklaus and the coal miners and the Farmers Bureau in Ohio, you're pretty much home. Pat Toomey's in trouble in Pennsylvania, but he's lucky because he has a weak opponent. And we'll see what happens if there's hidden Trump voters out there.
How about Rubio?
I think Rubio's going to be fine. This guy he's running against is,
Yeah.
The Cubans are going to come around, and they're going to vote for Rubio. I think Rubio might be the one to help pull Trump across, if you think about it in that sense. Democrats need a net gain of 4. It's possible, very possible. But they're also having trouble in Nevada. So while they're going after Republican seats, they have to defend a few of their own. And the critical thing is the Democrats want to get a majority for at least 2 years if Hillary's elected, because come 2018, there's 25 Democrats up and 8 Republicans. And I can tell you, a midterm for Hillary Clinton is going to be, you're not going to want to be on the ballot.
All right, Patrick's going out on the road. He'll be doing some political work. We'll talk to him in a week or so. Have a good trip.
Thank you.
And share what you get with us. Don't keep it to yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the way he is. Crane the Cowboy, thanks again for joining us here on thelibertyplaybook.com. In about a week or so, we'll be back. We're going to be taking it to the streets, talking to some Americans about what they know about their Constitution and their elected officials. And they know who all their presidents were. Should be fun.
Yeah, the 16th president, Ricky Ricardo. Run away!